So I've had the Panasonic S1 Mark II for about 10 days or so now. And it timed up quite well because I was able to pick it up on my way to a big shoot trip in the Gold Coast where I did, you know, over 10 shoots, lots of fashion work. And I was really able to put this camera through its paces in both photo and video. And I don't think I've ever been this happy with one of my own camera purchases. Like, this camera is the jack of all trades. If I only had to take one camera anywhere, it would be this camera, no compromises, nothing. And I'm going to tell you why. Now, straight out of the box, it feels premium. It feels exactly like the S1R Mark II. You kind of can't tell them apart, which I've nearly made the mistake of grabbing the wrong one, but wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. But built well, weather sealed, has the record button on top and the front. I love the... So I use the S1 Mark II for a ton of natural light portraits. And similar to the S1R Mark II, I found the eye autofocus to be sticky, even backlit. It focused really well. Probably a tiny bit better than the S1R Mark II, but I can only imagine that's got something to do with maybe with less resolution, it might sort of have less strain on the autofocus system and it's a different sensor, but autofocus was sticky. I didn't really have any complaints with it. I found the color science in both photography and videography better than the S1R Mark II. Like, obviously you can tweak them both and fix them both, but as like a starting base point, I preferred the color coming out of this camera to the S1R Mark II. Now, the reason we're all here, obviously the video specs. Open gate in 50 frames per second is just so clutch for what I do, considering obviously I love filmmaking, I love YouTube, but all of my clientele often involves, you know, people wanting reels and this and that. So just the ability to just cover all bases, you know, normal speed and slow motion, the full 3x2 sensor, give amazing vertical crops, but also having, you know, the wide angle stuff for website, banners, YouTube, whatever. It just covers every base for both my clients and me all in one. And that is definitely like the number one most clutch factor in this camera, because yeah, it almost seems silly for like cameras to not offer the use of the whole sensor. Like, obviously there's processing and stuff that goes into it, but it just seems like now that it's in a hybrid body and people can sort of see why it's so useful, I think it's one of those things where it's sort of like feels dumb not to have it, because for a world where mixed deliverables are pretty much always a thing, it's like the most important feature now, I think. The footage felt incredibly detailed, especially in the mid-tones. Like, it seems like there was, one of the commenters on my last video pointed this out, there's a bit of like sharpening in the mid-tones potentially, but I actually don't mind it, because when you do put on a film emulation kind of edit, it blends really well between the film look, but still that high level, high quality, modern look. And I just love the way that sort of the organic meeting between the two. And I was pretty much using the Lumix 24-70 in everything you see in this video, maybe some 24-105 as well, but those two lenses, maybe 25% of the shots had the short stash everyday filter on it. And the fact that some people thought it, you know, it could have been vintage glass or cinema glass kind of shows how much you can push the image and just the vibrancy and sort of color depth you can get from this sensor. Now, I actually filmed this twice, because on my last day at the Gold Coast, I filmed this review, and then when I got home, the new firmware update came out. So updated it, waited a few days for my code to arrive in a box, which seems a bit silly, like just email it. But got my Arri log code. So then today I've just been doing some testing with the Arri log, and I'll show some comparisons and sort of if there's one I prefer over the other between Vlog and Arri log. I think the thing that always shocks me about this camera and Lumixes in general, as like a naturally shaky person that hates gimbals, because I just like to, you know, snap between photo, video, move quick, is just its internal stabilization is just crazy. Like, some shots honestly, you could tell someone was on a gimbal. And from me, who's uncoordinated and shaky, that is like the ultimate test. Like, they should put me in the factory when they're making it and use me as like the crash test dummy. And they'll be like, okay, it's now SAM proof. It's the best stabilization in the world. Let's put it out. Because some of the shots that I'm able to get with this stabilization like shocks me. And it is so handy for my workflow because, as I always say in all my videos, I love going quick. I love snapping between photo and video, like not messing with a bunch of gear. So that stabilization is just an absolute lifesaver. The battery life is surprisingly good. I found on the S1R Mark II, it was like chewing through them, and I was like, is this like what it's like? Like, is this what all Lumix cameras are like now? But this one has been much more normal and more comparable to like my Sony, which was good. Like, even, yeah, just jumping between, you know, open gate, 50 frames per second to rapid fire photos. I was able to, you know, not have to change a battery like in the middle of like an hour or 2 hour shoot. So that was another situation where there wasn't a compromise from using this camera. So I think if you want pro level photos and video in one body with no compromises, and, you know, with no compromises, you want to, or you've always wanted to use an Arri camera but didn't have the budget, but wanted to, you know, play with the color science, you know, dual native ISO, you know, class leading image stabilization if you're a bit shaky and uncoordinated like me, I don't know how you could go past this camera. I think for anyone looking for a hybrid camera that wants to do a bit of everything, you'll have a whole toolkit just within this camera. After a week of real world experience with this camera, I'm genuinely impressed. There wasn't any compromises, any bottlenecking, you know, any situations where I was like, oh, it let me down. It was just, whether light was good or bad, whether it was photo or video, it just smashed every task I gave it and gave me full confidence to use it on pretty much any job or project. And I think that is pretty much the best compliment you can give a camera.